Live from New York, it's Ask an Engineer.
Hey everybody, welcome to another fantastic, fabulous Ask an Engineer. I'm Lady Ada, not the puppet version, the real one. And we're broadcasting live from the Adafruit factory in West Soho in downtown Manhattan. I'm Lady Ada. I'm the engineer, not a puppet. With me is Phil, also not a puppet.
Not true. I am a puppet.
Okay, Phil the puppet. We're here to have an exciting show, Ask an Engineer show and tell.
Yeah.
Tell them the code, tell them what's on tonight's show, tell them all this stuff.
All right.
That's your job. That's what you got to do.
I got to do that. On tonight's show, we're going to talk about the show and tell. Massive, amazing night with incredible projects. The code tonight is Emoticon. We'll talk about that and why soon. We've got some news in the world of open source hardware. We've got Mailbag. We've got Wearable Wednesday, 3D Thursday, Pi Day, new products. We're going to answer your questions. We're going to have a trivia question. All that and more on Ask an Engineer.
Yep.
All right.
That's us.
Okay. Whew.
We're broadcasting now from nearby the photography area.
Yeah.
And wearables is over here, and then behind us is Molly's desk and some packaging storage.
We were broadcasting in different areas of the Adafruit factory, but this is kind of where we're settling into the area. We have some big upgrades coming to the show soon, which I think everyone will like.
Yeah.
And
4 years.
Yeah. The show is we're going to be hitting our 4-year anniversary soon. The longest and only live electronic show that's been
After
going on.
4 years, we're going to start wearing pants below the desk.
Right. It's a new change. So let's start with paying some bills. The code is Emoticon. 10% off everything in the Adafruit store that's in stock.
And there's a lot in stock.
Use the code Emoticon.
There's lots in stock.
What?
There's a lot in stock.
There's a lot in stock right now. We caught up. We're on a
pick and place roll.
We're on a bender, as they say.
A bender.
A pick and place bender. Our new pick and place, our Samsung machine, Amugi is the name.
Yes.
And we're caught up. This machine, 28,000 components per hour. So we're finally able to catch up. Our previous machine was 1,000 components per hour.
What used to take us like a day or two, we now do in about an hour. So we can actually just make 1,000 of something. So it's just so fast. And it's great because I'm also designing a lot more stuff because I know that we can pick and place it. Like before, I've actually designed it. I'm like, I don't want to make this because it's going to be hard for our pick and place to keep up. But now it's like, hey, and we didn't even win the pick and place on Thursday.
Yeah. Okay.
We're just hanging out.
So let's
having a beer.
Yeah. Let's move on to the show and tell. So show and tell was massive tonight. I think this was the best show and tell
ever
we've ever seen
since last week.
Yeah.
Well, they get better and better.
Yeah. It was fantastic. So first up, you want to go through some of these?
Yeah, I'll go through these while you I don't know, do your hair. Terry showed up, and this is her first time at the show and tell, but she came out strong. She had a pumpkin video game. She's going to enter this pumpkin contest, and her pumpkin plays video games, like in the mouth. It plays like paddle game and Simon, and then like a jumpy game. And she's writing her own memory manager, and then she uses our little LED 8x8 matrices for that, which is kind of similar to Phil B's Halloween pumpkin last year. That was really great. And then she also did a Tetris game that's separate, not in a pumpkin. This is a separate thing using our bicolor display. It's really beautiful and colorful. She also made a clock with 60 LED, actually had an LED for every second, every minute, every hour. And it was just 2,000 wires, and it was crazy. And you have to watch the video. It's just out of control, and you can change the updates and just wireless. And there's also a 32x32 matrix display, which we have in the store, and she made this kind of cool Game of Life Conway kaleidoscope thing. And because there's not a lot of RAM, and so she said oh, this is you can use 128 bytes of RAM, and so we can fit little Conway, and then she kaleidoscoped it. Anyway, it was totally awesome. Dino showed up. Dino has showed up multiple times showing off his robot. He's making this crazy robot in his garage. And then he's like, my robot's so big. So he made Minibot. And Minibot is a robot that's inside the bigger robot, and it's this big, and it's small, and it can come out of the big robot, and it can get under stuff and hide under cars and surprise you.
Yeah.
And it's a little scary. It has a video link. And there's really intense robotics going on in Dito's garage. I don't know if you live next to Dito's garage, but watch out for these little robots. They'll trip you or something. I don't know. Scott was next. Scott had a Raspberry Pi in his Mac 512K, which is one of the best Macs ever. The 512K was excellent.
This is one of your favorite computers.
Yeah. Do you want to know why?
Why?
Had an expansion slot.
Yeah.
It was the first one with an expansion slot. Like you could do a firmware update, you could double the RAM. It wasn't a really good expansion slot, but it did have one. I had the 512K, put the disc in, start up System 5. It's great. Anyways, you didn't turn it into a fish tank. Everyone else turns their Macs into fish tanks, which is cool. I understand it makes a cute fish tank because there's a little booklet everyone was reading that was like how to make it your Mac into a fish tank. One day we'll have that guy on the show and tell, I hope. But anyways, he put a Pi in there and he had a 12-volt battery and a like step down thing, and he put one of our screens in, and it's like a Raspberry Pi in a Mac Classic. If you do that, watch out. Be sure to like turn it off for a while so that you don't get zapped by the CRT, because the CRT is killer. Next was Roberto and his assistant, who looks just like Kanye. And he had sound-activated EL wire glasses that he made. He also was working on the Pixel Guts kit, which is another like 32 by 32 matrix display. The wire glasses were intense, and he also made like some like crazy bike light thing with like arrows, and it's like he has a team, and like I don't actually know what's going on, but people are making really hardcore LED lights for their bikes, which is cool because it's summertime. Then Liz showed up, and she made a lovely LED dress for her daughter, and with her daughter, and it's got Flora pixels, and it lights up, and she's gonna add accelerometer.
Yeah, another great example of the power of Flora, because you can drive these RGB LEDs.
Yeah, and you can just add the pixels, and you can just sew through them, and she's learning a lot about the thread and how to manage it, and like that's like it's interesting. It's like soldering is hard, and then you think soldering hard, and then try sewing. Sewing can be really difficult too, especially with this conductive thread. And then see, we had some people show up. Ben showed up. And Ben was quiet because his mic wasn't working, but he showed off his...
We did Maker Charades.
Maker Charades, and it was basically Flora pants. It was a Flora on the back of some jeans, and then the jean pockets had the Flora LEDs outlined, and they were doing stuff, and he made it for his lady friend, and she's got a really blinky butt.
Yeah.
That's all I can say. Go check out the video. And then John W. showed up. He returned from his 2-week hiatus or whatever, or maybe it was 1 week ago. I remember.
Yeah, he has a cool
watch.
Yeah.
And he's designing his watch. He's making a custom watch. He really wants custom watches because he's like learning electronics, and watches are a really cool way to learn electronics. And he's using Fritzing. It's called Circron. It's like a circuit cron watch, and he has a battery, a LiPo battery, and a backup battery. So this is going to be an intense watch. So he'll probably get circuit boards made, maybe come back in 2 weeks and show us his watch. Did you like that? Yes, you want to show up on the show and tell too, and show up your projects.
That's right. Well, first up, anyone on the show and tell gets an as seen on the show and tell sticker. These are making the rounds on all sorts of maker projects. Just
put them on your Flora butt pants. It's cool.
And if you're on the show and tell, you just email support@adafruit.com and you get an as seen on the show and tell sticker.
And you can collect multiple ones.
Yeah, some people have collected multiple ones. Lady Ada, how do people get on the show and tell?
If you want to get on the show and tell, first off, get your Flora butt pants on. Then go to plus.google.com/plus_Adafruit and find the post on a Google Plus page where you say, hey, comment here to be added to our show and tell circle. Comment there on the show and tell circle. We'll add you to the circle. And then every single week at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Saturdays, you'll be invited. You'll see a little invite thing. It's confusing because they changed the interface, but find it. You'll get invited, and then you can show off your Flora butt pants.
Yeah, I think we right now, because we were talking to Google, we have the most frequent hangouts on a regular basis.
Every single week.
Every single week we do these. And
non-stop. You know where I'm going to be next week.
Yeah.
Here.
Most likely. And the cool thing is it's we're seeing such a diverse group of people showing their projects, sharing what they're doing. They'll post up links. They'll send emails. We'll post them up on the blog. And the way the technology works is this is using Google Plus Hangouts on Air.
Yeah. Automatically
gets recorded. And today I had a little bit of time. I finally figured out how to use some of the advanced features with some plugins. It's complicated when you have a company page. So this is for the folks who are really into this stuff and video conferencing. And
you got the bug? And we
have a watermark that has the show and tell logo, which is kind of cool, and then it has Adafruit in our names. For individuals, this is easy to do. When you have a company page, you have to actually like do a bunch of stuff. So it's finally kind of documented, and I had some time to read up on the documentation. So that's neat.
Yeah, APIs, XML, JSON, whatever.
It's all weird.
So, we did it.
Anyways,
that's
next up, today, Lady Ada, you keynoted a conference. You've had a busy day. You were at Emoticon, and let me tell everybody what Emoticon is. This is a really cool conference in New York City. Each year, over 150 New York City youth from programs throughout the 5 boroughs compete in the premier showcase of digital, media, and technology projects designed by youth for the betterment of the world. Now, here's the cool thing. These projects covered all sorts of stuff. There were some things that helped disabled folks. There were some community-based projects. There were some Flora projects. We saw Flora in 2 projects.
We saw a power switch tail being used.
Power switch tail.
Stepper motor.
These were really cool advanced projects for kids roughly age 2 to 17. So you did a nice keynote talk.
Yeah.
I have some photos from the event. I have this new app on my phone that makes little animated GIFs. Check this out. Like you're waving. Ding, 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 ding. Isn't that weird?
It's creepy.
Yeah, it's creepy. Anyways, it makes animated GIFs. Yeah.
It looks like I'm freaking out.
Yeah. So here's the conference. It was at the New York Public Library.
Yeah, beautiful building.
Up on 42nd Street.
It's the public library, the big one.
Yeah. Here's the Flora Project. You want to talk about a little bit about what this?
This was a video game where you had it's like a physics game. And you used a keyboard. It was written in processing, and the student who built this started by writing it in processing with keyboard commands, but then wanted to build a custom controller, just like a capacitive touchpad with a Flora and an accelerometer as well. And the idea is you can tilt it and then squeeze it to activate the ball and paddle system.
Yeah.
So it's kind of neat because it was actually very similar to Becky's tutorial, but advanced.
Yeah. Here you are. And then you did a little bit of a tour looking at all the projects. iBeam put together a fun...
Yeah, this is part of the iBeam program.
Yeah, they had a fun group of folks there that were part of the program. Another Flora project that has stuff that's sewn in.
Yeah, this was audio reactive.
Yeah. And then your talk about all your projects and the things that you were working on and the things that you did. So, really neat day. And our friend Dawn, who's part of mouse.org, I think is the...
Mouse Corps.
Yeah,
they're students. I believe the Mouse are students that do IT in their schools.
Yeah.
They're like that. They basically do IT for credit in their school. They help because the schools are like full of computers now. And then they have a group throughout New York called like the Mouse Corps.
Yeah.
And then I think it was a little confusing because there's like half a dozen groups.
Yeah.
There's like A-Team group, the Mouse group, the iBeam group, and then like there's another one, the Hive Manhattan. So it's actually pretty intense. And there's a lot of kids doing this, and there's a huge community, so it's really cool.
All right. Next up, Lady Ada in the news this week. You were in the MIT News. They did an interview with you, and you talked about all the things that got you to where you're at, and a little bit about Adafruit.
Yeah.
And you also talked about a fun story that came about from Ask an Engineer. A parent was watching the show with their daughter. They saw you and Waz, who will probably be on the show again soon.
Also went to MIT.
Yep. And the daughter said, Dad, do boys do engineering? Because she's only seen girls do engineering.
Yeah.
So that was kind of a neat thing to see. So anyways, it was on the MIT Facebook page and on their Google Plus and in an article. So that's on the site. You can also check our blog. So check out a little bit about Adafruit. Next up. Maker business news.
Yeah, there's a lot of news.
Yeah, so we cover maker businesses because we're really into open source hardware. We're really into electronics, but we also like the business side of it. And this is where all the questions usually come from now.
Yeah.
Because makers are starting to run companies, and they always want to ask us questions. So we have this section. It's on the blog. Maybe someone can link it up in the chat. All about maker businesses, from companies that get funding, maker businesses that get acquired. When Make spun off to be their own startup, like this is stuff that we cover. I kind of covered that when I was writing a lot on Make, and so I still like to cover this. So one was not everybody can be a platform, and this article was, and you can check the link. The author wrote about one of the things that they discovered. Looking at all these different types of projects, it's very hard to be a platform, and this is something you said before in the past. It's very hard to make platforms.
What's ironic is because like it's a challenge because I try not to make platforms. I mean, it's hard, but I try not to make platforms. I try to think of an activity or an application. And what's funny is that I kind of started out by making platforms. Because the problem with being an engineer, and like as an engineer, I will be totally honest. Engineers love to make tools that make tools that make tools. Like we love to make a compiler tool that makes a compiler that parses a compiler input and generates like compiler output. Like that's kind of like the dream of like a software engineer. It's right. We're like write a compiler for a programming language to parse. Input. Like that's a bit of a problem because it's good because we need tools and we need platforms, and this isn't software, but in hardware it's true also. It's like we like to make generic stuff because it's like we're engineers, so we're like, instead of just solving a problem, we're like, let's make the thing that might solve the problem if somebody else wants to do it.
Let's make it perfect.
It's not perfect. It's kind of like we want to abstract it away.
Yeah.
Because it's like, unfortunately, that's kind of what you're taught in school. Is like, it's like you're not taught applications. You're taught like, here's how you design filters, and not like what would you actually use a filter for, right? Like you're rarely actually like using that knowledge. You're more like learning it to make it. Anyways, this is like the platform disease. So it's actually called platform disease, and this is like the Media Lab. Like I don't remember exactly who was saying. I think like maybe John Miner, maybe my advisor was saying like, watch out for platform disease.
You keep making platforms.
It's so tempting to make platforms instead of actually doing something.
Yeah. Well,
solving a problem.
We always see there was the round of like Arduino killers, and everyone was just reinventing platforms, and there was all sorts of permutations. I know it'll have an AVR and a propeller and like all these different things on it. Let's make a new platform over and over and over again. It's really hard.
Ironically, when I came to New York and I was at IBeam and I was actually working on a platform, which is unfortunate because I wasn't over my disease, and I went and I saw Tom Igo at ITP. This was I think it was at IBeam, and he actually told me about this too. He said, "Watch out! Don't make platforms." Which is ironic because he ended up making the Arduino.
The Arduino is a platform for people to do physical computing.
But they also came up with very good. They showed the platform as an application. They didn't just say here's a dev board, which is very easy. It's very easy to say like here's a dev board. And the thing is, a lot of people come to us and they're like, I made this dev board, and I'm like, dude, I can make a dev board. Like it takes a weekend to make a dev board. Making a dev board is the easy part.
Yeah.
It's very easy to make a dev board. Right.
What does it do?
What does it do?
What's its application?
Anyways, that's the platform disease brand. So it's very easy to make a platform, and I have boxes of dead platforms.
Yeah, I mean, I remember a while ago I wrote about why the Arduino won and why it's here to stay as a tool. And one of the reasons was it wasn't made by a chip company who was just showing off every possible feature.
Yeah.
It wasn't this giant board with every possible thing you can do. It's actually just kind of like an AVR breakout, but with like a processing like language, an experience IDE to just get something done real fast, get sensor information and do something.
Yeah.
So that was kind of neat. So anyways.
Yeah.
Next up, another maker business.
Okay.
Thing. So the real cost to bring your hardware product to retail.
Yeah, this was. Wait, who wrote this one? This was,
I think same site. I don't have the. Someone can link up in the comments.
Yeah.
This was interesting because we do have stuff in retail, but we don't put it in retail. We actually work with others like Make to put it in retail because it's so expensive and takes such a long time.
This was a very good article. This site that I don't see. Of course, I don't remember, but this site actually has some very good articles.
Yeah.
I really like these. And it's true. It's like you don't think. There's also another article that we posted. I don't know if we're going to talk about it, but like the slowest $300 ever made. It's like
that's going to go up on the site soon.
The cost of making stuff. It's like the BOM is nothing, right?
Yeah.
Again, it's like anyone can make something for like a BOM of like $5 to $10, but it's like all the other stuff really adds up, and like especially with retail. Like with retail, you don't even understand like. If I sell something to retail, first off, they want it to be like half the cost of the retail cost. I have to sell for half the cost. But then there's additional charges. Any returns I get billed are billed against.
It's basically on consignment.
It's basically consignment. Yeah. You get billed on any returns, even if it's not damaged, even if the customer just couldn't figure it out. You get billed against that, so you have to pay for all returns.
Yeah.
You have to pay for the advertising cost. So they charge you maybe 5% extra.
Yeah.
They charge you, not them. Like the other way, to do the advertising. They have to cover their advertising, and there's like franchising fees. They'll add all these fees, and then like they don't have to pay for 90 days.
Yeah.
And then they want like a free display version, and you have to make a display case for it. So it's really really pricey.
Yeah.
Really pricey.
We have we co-designed the Arduino Micro that's in Radio Shack. We have stuff in Radio Shack through Make. We have other retail partners that we do stuff. A lot of our distributors will do retail. But we decided to focus on let's have the best possible online store with 1,400 products, best service, best support, and let's focus on that. And we're dabbling with other models, but we want to make sure it makes sense. We don't want to hurt Adafruit or have bad margins or not be able to have the same quality. And we also want retail partners that aren't just racing to the bottom. If you Google around or if you look at some of these stories about retail. It's always like, oh yeah, like Best Buy, oh yeah, like this, oh yeah, like it's we can't really sell anything. We actually
and
it costs more
if
money.
If they discount it, if they end up discounting it, you have to pay for the discount.
Yeah, so it's really tough.
There's no free money.
It's really tough. So that's why it's really important when you start out with your business. You build in pretty good margins. If you're making stuff and you want to go mass, you have to have so much cushion, so much wiggle room, but it seems like you're overcharging. But in reality, that's the only that you have to have enough room to move around if you're going to go to retail, especially. Okay, next up, other things in the news. I'm just going to hit these quick. The post office is they lost $9.1 billion between January and March, and $15.9 billion last year. They're thinking about and they lose $25 million a day. So they're thinking about no more Saturday service, no more like curb delivery, like all sorts of things they're looking to try and to cut. So for us as a company, we've noticed people are instinctually moving more towards like, we use UPS anyways because they're ordering more, the boxes are getting bigger, and the tracking and the reliability is better. With postal, I could tell you, because I'm one of the people on the front end of the customer support side, the U.S. Postal Service, even though people think that we have a special deal with them, so we ship very fast because we're 2 blocks from the hub here in New York City, and it goes everywhere very fast. But still, there is the quality of service is starting to go down a little bit. Like you can just tell, like they're really starting to creak. So there's all sorts of ideas of what can happen with the post office. I wrote an article a while ago, renting out the top of the truck for all these mapping services. Post offices are closing down. Sears and Kmart are actually turning in they're one of the biggest real estate holders in the U.S. They're turning those into data centers. So smart. That's what a weird thing. One day maybe Amazon will be using all these old buildings for their data centers as cloud storage, where you used to go to Sears to get everything that we were probably getting from Amazon now. It's funny.
Yeah, it's interesting.
So that's in the news. Also in the news, this is a really great article in the New York Times. Sony's real bread and butter. It's not electronics. Sony makes their most money on insurance. And everyone's like, well, what's going on, Sony? Like, you're not making stuff anymore. You're making finances. So really interesting story. I've been a Sony fan my entire life, and I've worked with Sony in the past, and they have a lot of work to do. I don't see them really participating in the next big thing right now. So we'll see. Really good article if you're into big worldwide companies that
you're a big Sony. You're kind of like this.
I love the story because who would have thought that weird Apple would come along and take away the Walk? What a crazy thing that happened. They had it. The Walkman was done. It was there, and like they could Discman. Sony had it
like this.
Yeah, Sony had
skip.
it. Yeah. All right. Next up, more maker business news. This was an article on Gigome. SparkFun did a interview with them and an article, and SparkFun's question was, is the maker movement over? Like, is there any more room for growth?
You did have a theory. I remember when Make started, the Make magazine started in like 2004, right? And I remember, like, I was chatting with you over IM. I didn't know you personally, but I knew you over IM, and you said, every movement's like 10 years old.
Yeah, you basically have...
It's been about 10 years.
Yeah, you have 10 years, and if you don't turn the movement or turn this thing into something else and go on the other axis and expand, you're stuck in this kind of somewhat limited market. So as the maker movement, when it first started, it took about 10 years. We're here now. There's lots of companies, there's events, there's people. And
there's maker fairs everywhere.
So it's very mature now. And so this article that SparkFun had was very interesting because they said, we're wondering if it's over because we only grew 9.6% year over year. And they were used to doubling.
So it grew really fast, and then there's a question: is it plateauing?
So
not like dying, but just plateauing.
So is there any more growth left?
Are there any more makers to be made?
Is there any more makers to be made? And the comments were interesting because people are like, no, this is just getting started. It's going to be bigger. So we like to run numbers and we do things. So we're experiencing something different. So we grew 216%. We tripled. So our year over year is very different than what SparkFun is experiencing. I think, because people always ask, hey, do you guys sell sell similar products? There's some category overlap. How are you guys different? We think that we're a very different company, and I think that's maybe why we're seeing 216% growth and tripling, because we just do different stuff. Maybe more focus on art, design. We have a different way to do education. We have our shows, your designs.
Do you think there's like more like beginners coming in, but maybe like the advanced users are plateauing? Or like
I just think that for some companies that are focused on servicing certain companies, certain customers, they may not see doubling and tripling in growth.
Yeah.
I think that we're in a really unique place. You've been doing a great job with everything. Our community and our customers are fantastic. I think we're just getting started.
I just got this pick and place. So
Yeah.
I hope it doesn't plateau. But what is your thought about the 10-year cycle? Do you think that the maker movement is ending a 10-year cycle, or do you think is it something else? Or what? 'Cause you told me this. I didn't come up with a 10-year number.
Yeah.
You said this to me.
Yeah,
10 years ago.
Yeah, the core maker movement that we saw with like middle-aged white guys like that, it takes about 10 years, and that community, that group of people, you have to cultivate outside of that. You have to bring more people in.
Okay.
So the show and tell is a really good example. So 10 years ago, there wasn't a Flora, and there wasn't people doing fashion with technology in the same way. It wasn't approachable.
Yeah.
So that's just a new example. That's one of our new.
There was no Flora.
That's one of our new growth markets for us.
Yeah.
So that's.
No, it's true. People really people like the Flora.
So if you don't look to where it's going, if you look where it's been, you're stuck. But if you have to know where it's going, that's why we invest in a lot of things. Our learning system, our wearable electronics line, all of our videos, all the things that we do. So anyways, it was an interesting article because of course, like right away we compared. We said, wow, 9.6% growth. Well, let's see where we're at year over year. 216. Those are very different numbers. So good work, you.
Okay, good work, me.
All right. Next up.
Yeah, we have so much stuff to get through.
Yeah, next up.
Okay.
You're gonna skip ahead.
Skip. Let's just skip. Yeah, skip there.
Yeah, next up.
Skip it.
We've got Beaglebone Black Fritzing. John Janier.
It's black.
John Janier spent a lot of time on this. If you use a Beaglebone, you should do that.
It could not get any more black than this.
Yeah.
Beaglebone Black.
Yeah. Okay. Next up, we're going to go to.
Look at that nice sort of gradient.
Yeah, you have to use a previous version of Fritzing though, because the gradients don't work that well in new one. Anyways, but we know which one to use.
Okay.
All right, next up, some news in the world of open source hardware. If you want to submit your paper for the Open Source Hardware Summit, you have to do it soon. Call for papers is here.
Okay. They only have 4-bit tall fonts.
Yeah.
Okay, Open Source Hardware Conference. Yeah, that's in when is it? September.
Yep.
And when is it? It's no longer in New York. It's now in Boston, right? It's at MIT, I think, at Kresge. I don't remember where it's at.
Yeah, it's at MIT.
Yeah, but I don't remember exactly where. But yeah, it's in MIT, and you can get tickets and stuff. And it's the week before Maker Faire New York, which is here in New York. So, but you can kind of like go. Boston's very close. It's like a 4-hour train ride away. So you can go to Boston, hang out in like New York or Boston for a week, come to the conference, the New York Maker Faire. So you can do both. But it's not the Thursday before. It used to be the Thursday before, but I think they wanted to mix it up. Also, like, there's a lot of people in Boston, and it's they also got sponsorship from Miters, and part of the organizers are from MIT. So, I hope that we will be there. We'll see. I'm not sure at this time. But submit papers and talks. And if you've not submitted, double extra before. If you've never submitted before, you should extra submit because they want new, fresh faces.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why.
Fresh, tender
actually,
faces.
that's a good thing. So once in a while, people say, "Oh, hey, you guys aren't speaking at, this conference. You spoke there every year. Why aren't you speaking there?" And we're like, "Yeah, we spoke there every year. It's time to get new people in."
I spoke at Emoticon. I've never spoken at Emoticon.
Yeah.
So this is a group of kids who had never heard anything about open source hardware or like this electronics or
This
Adafruit.
gets back to the growth thing.
Cool.
So we have this thing. If we spoke at a place, we kind of want to go and speak it somewhere else. And when people say, "Oh, can you speak at this event?" Like, well, we already spoke at that one. What we do is we recommend someone we want to see there.
Yeah.
So that's our
actually
thing.
O'Reilly does that for like food camp. Like you don't get invited again. You have to recommend somebody.
No,
else.
you get invited again. That was one of the things that I said that they should have it so you can never go back again.
But in general, they don't invite the same people.
There's a core group of people that I understand that do that. But I like that. Like, okay, who would you want to have here next year?
Yeah.
It's a big deal. Okay. Next up. Wearable Wednesday.
Wearable Wednesday. We're already up to Wednesday.
Yeah. Well, I'm skipping ahead because I want to make sure we have enough
time
for the new products this week. Wearable Wednesday. Some cool stuff. Bows.
Bows.
Electronic bows.
Yeah, bows. And the shoes. Check out the shoes. Wait, go back.
Yeah.
Check out those shoes. They
You want
also
me to
did.
zoom into the shoes?
Yeah.
Okay, I can zoom into the shoes.
Let's go look at these shoes. Those are EL tape shoes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah.
Glowy shoes.
Those are nice. So that's Rissa and Becky in our Warbles department. And then here's Becky rocking out this bow. So,
Lady Becky.
Here is a video that describes a little bit about this project and in action. Okay,
so which one do you want to wear?
I'm not wearing these bows. They put this on me before. I'm not a bow person. You have it on. Switch it around.
Oh, sorry.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah, in Adafruit black, as someone said in the comments.
Lower the chair, and then there's also this much.
Yeah, I mean, I could do a bow tie type thing.
Yeah, why don't you wear that as a bow tie? There you go. Nice. You can clip it on too.
Yeah, I'll probably.
All right, great.
Okay.
So this is a fun project, and Becky, this project is kind of like, you don't do a because it's cool to do microcontroller stuff, and maybe you're like, I don't want to do microcontroller, I just want to sew something. You want to make these big fashion bows. Apparently, these are like cool and very fashionable right now.
Yeah.
In New York, and so you can make yourself a bow tie or a bow. It's just some sewing, no soldering, you know, no flooring, no microcontrollers, no USB ports. Just an EL inverter, and it's tucked in the bow center, and then it's nice. It's kind of nice. It's like a stiffened silk.
Yeah, it was silk.
So it's got a nice texture to it. Yeah, there's a special spray. Anyway, I will wear this for the rest of the show.
Yeah. Okay.
It's extra funny if you look sad.
Someone said Lady Gaga fruit. Yeah. Aww. Okay. Next up. 3D Thursday.
Yeah.
Every week. We have tons of things about the world of 3D this week. You're going to like this. There's going to be a 3D printer in space.
Yeah.
This is a new thing. So, made in space, it's the first 3D printer in space. They're going to get the 3D printer on the space station. What a new set of challenges. Now you have to make sure your 3D printer works in...
God, extrusion. I mean, the extrusion does force out. Maybe you need gravity. I don't know.
There's all sorts of things, right? Like, who would have thought? So now that's
how do you test it?
That's it. Well, they're gonna put it up there. So this is a cool thing because if you think about the future of what may need to happen if we go on long space journeys, you'll probably need a 3D printer to print out parts.
Yeah, sure.
In some way, right? You're not going to be able to bring every replacement part with you.
You should, but you should also bring a 3D printer, and also a replacement 3D printer.
Yeah. So that was there. Next up in the world of 3D. Someone printed out the Joy Division cover, so how can I not talk about that this week? Look at that. Beautiful stuff.
ABS will tear us apart.
ABS will tear us apart. One last programming note. I say this every week, but if you want to get a 3D printer tonight, it's 10% off the MakerBot. We only have a few of the limited edition MakerBots left. You can use Emoticon. If you're in the US, you get free UPS or ground shipping. Get 10% off. It's actually too good of a deal, but we are telling you anyways. If you happen to want a 3D printer, that is the way to go. We have a MakerBot here. That's what we use. Replicator too. Next, what?
I have to go closer because the bow's so big.
Okay. Next up, Pi Day.
Pi Day.
And
Pi was famous.
Yeah, Pi Day is now joining the ranks of many excellent things and many excellent people. So this week, congratulations to everyone at the Raspberry Pi Foundation, and of course anyone who's participated with Pi in any way. It's on the cover of Wired Magazine UK.
And it's a toxic Pi bow case.
Yeah, from the folks at Pi Moroni.
Yeah.
So
it's British.
Yeah. Sold 1 million so far. Cost £16, and it's British. Fantastic.
I love it.
So you know, we talked about this before, and I said I was going to ask you this on the show, but so, you know, briefly, why do you think the Raspberry Pi took off so much?
I think one of the things, well, I mean, the cost helps, but I don't actually think that's the most important thing, because there's other low-cost dev boards. I think what's really cool about the Raspberry Pi is that it had a really good story and a really good cause, and it's like I think also the Arduino did a little bit too, because like when you know the Arduino is for like physical computing for artists. With the Raspberry Pi, it's to teach everyone programming and teach everybody how a computer works. And I think because it had a point, again, it's a platform, but there's also the application. The application was learn how to program with this thing. Like this is the point of it. It's not just like it's a computer. And it had these great GPIO ports. It was really easy to get running. It had SD card slot, and it had audio and video. It had a lot of really good stuff.
Yeah.
It had just enough, but not too much.
Yeah.
Which I really liked. And then they added mounting holes, and that made it perfect.
Yeah.
That's kind of some of the things I like about it.
Yeah. I think the number one reason it's a cause that people that really wanted to see succeed, and that to me is the future of electronics and all sorts of things. Anyone could probably put out a low-cost $35 Linux computer now.
Yeah. But
you need something like the Raspberry Pi Foundation, the charismatic people like Eben and Liz that are going around the world and Rob and talking to people and explaining his vision of everyone being able to learn computer programming and also being able to use cool hardware, all the stuff that you've worked on, and all the cool accessories to do fun experiments. So I think that's a big deal, and it's the new normal. I think you can't release things anymore without having that behind it. And so, what a great business case study for people to look at. If you want to sell 1 million units of something, this is one. They did it. Yeah. They did it. So the Pi on the cover of Wired joins Massimo from Arduino on the cover of Wired Italy, Bree on the cover of Wired US, and you cover of Wired US. What a nice group of people and pies. Okay, next up. You want more? Okay. Before we go to new products, code is Moticon, 10% off everything in stock in the Adafruit store. Yeah. Let's hit new products, Lady Ada.
Okay.
New.
We still need a new song.
I'm working on it.
Okay. Yeah. This is actually updated. We have our Wi-Fi adapter that we carried before got discontinued, and we didn't really know it was discontinued until we asked the factory after 2 months, hey, where's our shipment? And they're like, oh, it's discontinued. And we're like, damn. So we got another one, which is just as good, and it's actually a little bit more compact, and it slides nicer into a USB port, which we like, but you can't remove the antenna. But it works really great. We've tested it. It works perfect with a Raspberry Pi. It uses the same chipset as our other Wi-Fi adapters.
There it is in our Raspberry Pi case.
Yes.
Okay. Lovely. Next up. What is this thing?
This is an UBEC.
An UBEC?
UBEC. It's a universal battery eliminator circuit. And I'll show it on the overhead because it is actually a little bit tough to see what's going on here. But it's a little circuit board. And basically, technically, you would call this a buck converter, and it's handy. It's actually using RC circuitry, but it's also really great for microcontroller projects because it generates 5 volts. So let's go to the overhead.
Okay.
Is
this the first time an UBEC has been on live internet?
I don't know.
Okay.
So this is the UBEC itself. It's a circuit, and it's a little buck converter, and this is the input. This is the input wires over here. And then inside you can see there's a capacitor and there's an inductor. There's actually a chip underneath here on the circuit board, and it's covered with heat shrink, which is kind of nice. There's some output ceramic capacitors, and then there's a cable on the outside. This goes to an RC connector, but you can just cut it off or disconnect it. And you can plug in, let's see, basically 6 to 23 volts into here, and you'll get 5 volts up to 3 amps out, and it actually will give you up to 3 amps. The driver chip, I don't remember the part number, but it's on the data sheet is on the product page. I actually hooked this up to an electronic load and drew 3 amps on it, and it got a little warm, but it still ran. The nice thing about this UBEC compared to many other UBECs, we have a box of UBECs, and most of them don't really, you need like 7 volts at least, and this one actually was very happy with as little as 6 volts. So you can run this off of 4 AA batteries, alkaline batteries, or a couple of rechargeables, and it'll give you a nice clean 5 volts out, and it's great for microcontrollers, Raspberry Pi, whatever. Digital LED strips, a lot of people want to run these LED strips remotely on a battery pack, And it's like you need actually like 5 volts, and the closer you can get to exactly 5 volts, the better. So this is really nice because it gives you a really nice 5-volt output and up to 3 amps. So I really like the Zubak. It's a great solution.
Okay.
And it's a good price.
Couple quick questions about it.
Yes.
What happens if you draw more power than 3 amps?
It will overheat, and it will the protection circuit inside it'll cut out.
Okay. What's the efficiency? Is it better than like a 7805?
It's much better than 7805 because it's actually a buck converter, which is why it's a little more expensive. There's more circuitry. I actually took numbers for input and output for current draw. Check the product page. Hopefully somebody will post it. You can see I have a little table where you can see the input, output, and the current in, the current out. Okay. But what's nice is that if you're
the bottom.
The bottom is just it's the label. It's just a circuit. It's covered with a heat shrink. It will draw. If you're drawing, if you have 15 volts in and 5 volts out, it'll draw a third of the current from the 15 volt connection. So it is much more efficient. It's probably around like 87% efficient.
Does it
85%.
fold back or fry?
I don't know what the question means. I wouldn't put more than 23 volts in.
Okay.
You could check the data sheet for the controller chip. Has a lot more details about max voltages, max current, ripple, all that good stuff. So for more details, do check the data sheet for the controller. Because it's basically just a breakout board for the controller chip.
All right. Next up, moving right along. Got these little remotes.
These little remotes. These are actually, we have the 4 pin remotes, and they're for our simple RF boards, which I forgot to bring the demo for. But basically, you press the button on the remote, and on the receiver, when we have multiple different receivers in the store, the pin goes high or low. So there's no microcontroller, no UART, nothing. It's just you press the button here, pin goes up to 5 volts over there.
That's handy.
It's very easy. We have a couple. We have one that you can have multiple buttons at a time. We have one receiver that can, one or another, one that toggles. But we have the receiver has 4 connections. But some people said, well, I have a project that's so simple, I don't need four connections. And to make it easier on me, I'd actually like a remote, a transmitter that has fewer than 4 buttons. So we're like, okay, so we got some 2 and single button ones. You can use the 4 button one. It's just, this is maybe a little more elegant for your usage. It's the only difference, just has fewer buttons.
Next up.
Mini camera.
Very tiny camera.
Yeah, this is exactly the same as our big JPEG camera. It's a UART controlled camera, so you can control it with a microcontroller, and it will compress the images into JPEGs, which is really handy because microcontrollers can't store and handle like large images very easily. But it's really small, and it's really great if you're building a project and you just want it to be super teeny. So I'm not going to demo the here, let me turn this off. Let me see if I can get this to connect. Okay, so I'll get some glare. So I have the camera over here.
Oh wow.
And you can oh wait.
It's looking at you.
It's upside down.
Looking at it.
I'll just turn this upside down. Okay.
Do you know what sensor is in the camera?
It's a CMOS sensor. I don't have the part number, although I'm still trying to find it. You check the data sheet, it might be in there, so you can see me. And this is just the color video output, just to show that you can also do AV output.
That's cool.
But when you can use it as a color, like NTSC camera, which is a color NTSC camera, it can look at itself even and get really confused. Oh, woo, zoom. But what it's really good for is it's UART controlled, so you can connect to it at 38.4 kilobaud and grab images and stills, and it has a motion detector. It's just a very small version of the camera, and it's very easy to use. So our bigger camera is very popular. This one's just smaller. I think it's just you can't focus as much, but it's quite a good lens.
Yeah, super fast too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, this is the video. It's meant for security cameras.
Okay.
It's got a nice color. You can really see them, quite pink.
All right. Our lady, it is secure. Next up, we have a little sensor.
Yeah, this sensor's so small I can't show it on the overhead. I mean, I can, but it's just like really.
Well, let's try.
It's really small.
Let's try it. If there's no sensor, I can't see it.
I know, I'm working on it. So this sensor is it's super teeny. Sensors are so small. So it's a little guy in the middle there, and we made the circuit board particularly large. So we wanted to have a mounting hole, and it's an analog light sensor. So it's really handy if you say don't want to use a microcontroller, or if you just want an analog input, you don't need I2C, you want something simple. And the really nice thing about this is it's a logarithmic output sensor. So most light sensors are linear, which means that if the light level doubles, the voltage doubles. Or, you know, sometimes you can put a resistor or some feedback thing. But it's usually not, it's either non-linear or it's like not logarithmic. It's kind of something like in the middle, especially photocells. And our digital light sensors they're logarithmic, but they're digital. But if you want something analog, this one's quite nice because compared to most analog sensors, the output is very sensitive at the low end and not as sensitive at the high end, which is how our eyes work, right? Because our eyes are very sensitive at low light levels. We can sense small differences, and that's why, like, when somebody turns on the light in the morning, your eyeballs like hurt so much because it's just such a sudden change. But you know, going from inside to outside maybe is not as painful because like we've adapted to the light levels. So this sensor acts a little bit more like our eyes. It is very sensitive at low levels and not as sensitive at high levels, so it can measure a wider range. And you can use it with an analog input quite easily. Basically, it's just a very good way to measure something in very dark or very bright at the same time without having to do weird calibration or like adjustment of like resistors or stuff. So it's a nice analog sensor. It's a little bit more expensive than the photocell, but it's much better calibrated and much wider range, a huge dynamic range, up to like 55,000 lux or something, which is really bright.
Okay. Next up, I consider this the start of the show tonight, besides you. This is our new sharp memory displays. These are incredible to look at. Of course, seeing them in person is the best way. We have some great photos that show that it's a reflective screen. We have a video on the product page that really shows it, but we're going to do it live now.
Yeah, I think live.
So, yeah, look at that.
So this is the sharp display. So yeah, this is a really good. Get it? Hold on. Try to get it. So it's reflective actually. It's kind of mirrored, but when you look at it, it looks dark, like a dark silver against a kind of matte silver. And I'll start the demo program. And yeah, these are made by Sharp. And the company that makes sensors, and they're actually often seen now in like smartwatches.
Yeah, like a Pebble watch.
Like Pebble watch uses a very similar display. Theirs has a little higher resolution, but same basic idea. And the cool thing about this is these displays are monochrome and they're extremely low power. You only have to refresh them. They use like almost no power, and in fact, you only have to like turn them on once a second to refresh them. So you can have a display. It's not e-ink, so if I turn the power, it will fade out, but it's not. It will fade out a little slowly, not as fast as like an LCD, which will just turn off immediately. So it's nice that if you kind of refresh it every half second, it's like, you know, you can actually turn off your microcontroller, go to sleep.
Less power, yeah.
Wake up every half second, you know, refresh it, and then go back to sleep again. And so it uses very, very little power, but it's much faster refresh than e-ink. The problem with e-ink is that you can only refresh the image once a second or two, like a book, like an e-book reader. You know, you turn the page and it kind of does that little flippy thing, and then it turns. You can't like go really fast. It's slow. You can't refresh it more than a second or a time. But this is like, as you can see, it's like real-time display updates. Very, very fast. It's as fast as a TFT, but has a low power of e-ink. So it's like a memory display. So some people call it like e-paper-like. But it's a very sharp, very beautiful display. And we put it on a breakout board because it's unfortunately kind of delicate and hard to use otherwise. So it's 5-volt compliant. On the breakout board, there's some pins. You get up to Arduino. It needs 3 pins. It's really easy. We have a library. We'll have a tutorial up. It's a nice little screen. It uses a lot of memory, unfortunately, because because it's write only, you have to buffer it. So like our graphics, some of our graphics TFTs, the monochrome ones, you do have to buffer the 1K of memory in the Arduino. So you can't use this in another big library that uses a lot of memory, but you could easily design like a watch type project or a smart display.
This is cool. This is kind of a classic Adafruit product. I think you take something that's very hard to use, impossible, and then make something so people can actually do something cool with it.
Yeah. So let me see if I unplug it. Yeah, it fades slowly.
Oh, it fades. So you could just hit it, and that's why it doesn't require as much power. That's cool.
Hold on, let me
There, it's back.
There, it's back. So I can remove the power. It's kind of hard to see, but if I remove the if it slowly fades out. So yeah, I mean, if if I actually just unplugged it and kept replugging it in really fast, you wouldn't notice that it was powered off. So yeah, I just have to like refresh. I just have to like power it and refresh.
You're like a microcontroller.
Yeah. So basically, you have to do it every half second.
Like a watchdog. You're a watchdog timer.
Yeah, pretty much. So you unplug it and plug it, and as long as you unplug and plug every like half second, it doesn't, and you only need to like turn on for a microsecond to turn it on and refresh it. So it's kind of an interesting display. So yeah, if you're interested in like lower power displays, or really, it's very bright and sharp and beautiful.
Yeah. Well, if you're ever thinking about making your own, watch, and you want to use these displays, you can get this breakout board and like make your own little watch dev board, and but until you're ready to go to manufacturing.
Yeah.
So.
This is the back of the breakout. So yeah, we just have some 5-volt shifting circuitry, a regulator. This is designed by K-Town. We actually designed this board 2 years ago when these displays first came out, and they were a little bit more delicate and more expensive. So it just didn't make sense at the time to carry it. And recently we picked up a bunch at a reasonable price, and so we got reseller pricing, so we could actually have a breakout board that wasn't like $60. I wanted to make it so it was reasonable.
Is there any grayscale, or is it just on off?
This is only on off. There's no grayscale on these. Yeah, they're just monochrome.
All right.
You can invert them, I think. I don't need an invert display.
Someone wants an 8.5 by 11.
They do make a bigger version, but we don't have really good pricing on that.
Yeah.
They do make a much
These
larger
are very
version.
new too, as far as like.
This is a very new technology. Yeah, it's a new technology from Sharp. Very new. So I definitely remember 2 years ago when they first came out. Yeah. But now that all these like e-watches, like the Pebble and similar, are using this display, the price came down. And it's a lot easier to get them.
Okay.
Well, very easy to use though. Very easy.
And that was new products. Whew. Got through it. You did a good job. All right. Just remember, everything you saw that's in stock, use the code MOTOCON.
Yeah, 10%.
10% off of everything in stock that you just saw, and beyond all the things in the Adafruit store. Yeah. We only got a little bit more time, so we're going to do open questions, engineering questions. Ask your questions to Lady Ada.
Whoa.
Ask away.
I'm going to wear a bow.
You can wear a bow. Ask the engineer wearing a bow.
Yes. Ask a bow-wearing engineer. I'm going to put away my demos.
Okay, what would you recommend for creating a digitally, i.e. microcontroller controlled bench power supply?
Big transistors.
Big transistors.
Big transistors.
All right, next up. What features of the expensive PMP machine would you like to see make its way into more affordable ones?
The software is really good.
Software.
And it's also, the vision is extremely stable. Like the other pick and place we had, it was pretty good. Like it definitely got us really far, and it was an excellent value. But it always, like, the parts were never quite straight. They would always twist a little bit. With the Samsung, it's like perfect every single time. Like the parts are like really centered, like it's creepy.
Yeah.
Like, how did he get it so centered?
Also, we have someone mentioned Dave Jones' power supply. His little units, right?
Yeah, we've got the microcurrents. They're for measuring. It's not a power supply. It's a tool to help you measure microcurrents without having a load.
But I think he's working on one.
Oh, okay. You should check out that design.
Yeah. Okay. Next up, what processor would you recommend for a low-cost Internet of Things project?
The Arduino chip's really good. Use an AVR chip, because that way you have an IDE ready to go.
Okay. When will B is for Battery be released, and will there be new puppets and plushies? So here's a preview. B is for Battery is being worked on as we speak.
Yes.
Here's this was in the It's Not Out Yet, Don't Ask. Here's Lady Ada and I working with AdaBot, and we were filming, and it should be out very soon. We're really excited about it. B is for Battery is going to be a really fun one for everyone.
Yes.
All right. Next up. Oh yeah, there probably will be more puppets and plushies.
Yeah.
Okay. Check out the Adafruit Learn System, learn.adafruit.com. Yeah. I like to make electronics book. We have some pretty good. Simon Monk has a good. Good book. I mean, there's never been a better time to learn this stuff.
We only carry the good books. Like, I flip through all the books. There's a lot of books we don't carry. Not that they're not good, but like the books we carry, like I go through them and I make sure that they're good books.
Next up, does Adafruit donate to clubs or organizations, or to case by case? Well, it's always case by case, but what we'd like to do is set them up to be a distributor reseller, because what they usually do is they can buy stuff at great discounts and then they sell it to their club, so they can make actual money running their club.
Yeah.
So we do that. Hackerspaces get the same discounts as resellers. You just have to pool your order together and make sure it's over 250. And we have hundreds of hackerspaces that do that, and they self-fund because of that.
Yep. They hold workshops, and then they can fund the workshops fund the hackerspace.
Do we know of an in-depth MIDI and Arduino tutorial?
No, but I bet Colin does.
Yeah.
I think Colin did one.
Okay, next up.
At Make.
How would you suggest organizing an Arduino Shield PCB? I keep getting auto routing errors.
Sorry, what is it?
Organizing an Arduino Shield PCB. I keep getting auto routing errors.
I don't use the auto router. I just hand route.
Okay.
That's the easiest way to do it.
Any benchtop power supplies you prefer?
Yeah, I just picked one up. It was like a Regal electronic one, but I haven't tried it out. It's shipping on the way to me.
Okay.
So I don't know.
If I have a Pi running in a hot environment, would heat sinks prove beneficial or problematic?
You do not need heat sinks for the Pi.
All right.
Pi does not need heat sinks.
Even
if it's a hot environment, what you think is hot is not very hot.
Someone know Hacker Scouts too. Yes, if you organize yourself and you're doing a group buy, just email us and we can set you up as a reseller. All we do is ask it has to be over a certain amount, $250, and we set you up as a reseller. And for some items, the discount is up to 40%.
Yeah.
Some are 30%. Some we don't have margins, so there's no real discount. Maybe there's 10%. So just email support@adafruit.com. Next up, do you have a BSA, GSA? Does the Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts have a hacking merit badge? No, but we've offered up our badges to the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts, and so if they want a 3D printing badge, a Python badge.
You don't need to be in the Scouts to get a badge from us.
You don't.
You don't. You can self-award them. Or you can have a friend of yours award you, or a parent, or a mentor, or something.
C or Python, what's the most useful to learn?
They're both very useful to learn.
Okay. Does Colin make any music and videos with many music makers? Well, Tom here does. Colin makes music. Adafruit is like 60% musicians.
Yeah.
So we have a great pool of music to choose from.
Yeah.
And they're very talented. Next up, thoughts on Visual Basic 6?
I don't like coding Visual Basic.
Yeah.
Probably good to learn though.
Next
There's a lot of stuff written in it.
Someone just says thanks, thank you. Is there a breadboarding badge? No, but we have the little breadboard. You can wear that as a badge.
You could wear the little. Yeah, we should. We can make the little breadboard. We have the little Perma-Proto, and it's basically badge shaped.
Yeah. Are there any Beaglebone classic capes that don't work on the Beaglebone Black?
I believe they all do.
Yeah.
But I'm not 100% sure. I know that our prototyping plate does because it's prototyping. But I don't know. You might have to contact the makers of whatever you're trying to use to make sure. I believe it is completely pin compatible. I'm just not 100% sure.
Okay. So it says they're a Google partner and Google really likes us. That's good to hear. Is it straightforward to learn Python after mastering C?
Yes.
Okay.
Once you've learned a programming language, all programming languages are fairly simple to learn. The concepts are the same. It's rare that you'll see. I mean, there's some advanced Python concepts like lambdas, but like you don't really need them, so you don't have to
Okay, it's trivia question time.
Okay.
We burned through that at night. Okay, trivia question time, lady. What are the rules?
Rules are if you've won something from our fun trivia question contest, you can't win again because we only have one winner per lifetime. The person who types in the correct thingy answer with typing and everything, and I'm tired, wins the prize.
Yeah.
What's the prize?
The prize tonight is the sharp memory display.
You get a sharp memory display.
Yeah. So this question is brought to you by John Junior. So that means it's a Star Trek Next Generation trivia question. And
is that what it always means?
Usually, yeah.
Okay.
And so this is a pretty good one.
Are cool.
So today's the 21st anniversary of a specific episode of Star Trek Next Generation. And the trivia question is, Picard plays this special instrument in this episode. What is this instrument called?
Oh my god.
Yeah, I know. And I'll start giving hints as needed, but this was a very good episode. If I need to add more hints, I will.
It's non-ocarina.
No. It's 2 words. You have to get both words. And the episode name was Inner Light. And if
this is like super geeky.
yeah, super geeky, fantastic.
What's so special about this episode?
You know, he this alien probe hits him, and he kind of goes through. I'm gonna go ahead and go with Engineer, even though he just got the first part, because it is a flute, but he got through it. It is a Resican flute. So here it is. It actually got auctioned off for a pretty big amount at Christie's auction. I found that out when I was researching this. But
Okay.
UNTE Engineer, email support@adafruit.com.
Yes.
And you get a sharp memory display.
I think everyone
Yeah.
is
So
winning some. So everybody wins something eventually.
yeah. So the whole thing about this, why it was such a neat episode, it's a mind bender one, because he basically has to live someone else's life, start to finish, in a matter of minutes. And these aliens, they did that because they wanted someone to understand what happened to them. And I'm not going to ruin the ending or anything, but you know, watch it.
Is it a Q one?
No, Q's not involved.
Okay.
All right.
That's the only thing I know about this thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Congratulations, UNT Engineer. I hope you want a sharp memory display, because that's what you're getting.
Yeah. Okay. So here's the thing. The show's over. It's time to end the show.
Yeah, we gotta go.
We gotta go.
I'm really
thank you, everyone.
This bow is so heavy.
The show and tell was amazing. Thank you, everyone who showed up tonight. Dragon, Becky, John, George. No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No. And we'll see everybody next week. Lots of exciting stuff ahead. Thank you so much for participating in this adventure with us out there.
Okay.
We will see everyone next week. Here's a cat. He was watching Next Generation today. That's a MOSFET photo from today. He was watching TV.
He was watching TV all day.
Here is
There's
your moment
lazy cat.
of Zener.
Do something with his cat life. Not to watch TV.